Thank you for that kind introduction, and thank you for inviting me here to speak today. On behalf of my residents, my staff, and also my board chairman, Bud Purvis, who's sitting back there in the back, thank you very much for allowing me to be here. It is always encouraging to see a community that cares about the mission of social housing. It can be easy to dismiss housing challenges. There are many, they are persistent, and they are hard to solve. Sometimes it can be tempting to just shrug our shoulders and move on. But I'm an optimist about housing. More to the point, I am an optimist about social housing in Toronto. And this morning, I'd like to spend the next 3 hours telling you why. All right, just kidding. I know this is 40 minutes, I'm gonna give it 40 minutes. But I am serious about housing, and serious about my optimism about housing, and the fact that you have chosen to share part of your Sunday morning to hear me talk about housing reinforces my optimism, that optimism. So again, thank you. As you know, I'm from the United States. I have an accent, right? Most recently from Detroit, when I headed the Detroit Housing Commission. But I have always lived and worked in San Francisco, New Orleans, Indianapolis, Kansas City, and many other U.S. cities. One of the first questions people ask me when they meet me is, how do things compare to Canada? There are some key differences. In the United States, the federal government plays a much larger role in the administration of social housing sector. For me, there has been a learning curve for sure, but housing companies have much in common on both sides of the border. No matter where you go, people want to live in housing that is clean, safe, and in good repair. Another thing we have in common is that there is never enough money to do anything with what we want to do. Social housing providers have to maximize value for each and every dollar. Another thing we have in common is that the social housing providers serve many residents who face challenges, whether it be mental illness, addiction, physical disability. These residents have needs that go beyond housing. Sometimes they need help in areas that go far beyond financial need. Also, the challenges of integrating social housing to the broader community are pretty much the same on both sides of the border. What I bring to Toronto is my experience, yes, but also bring a unique independence. I am someone coming in new and fresh from the outside. This allows me to make decisions detached from personal relationships or history. It gives me the freedom to focus on solutions. I arrived in Toronto Community Housing on June 18th. One of the first things I told people was that I wanted to meet all of my 1,400 members of my staff and visit all of our developments within the first 100 days. That surprised a lot of people. But I was surprised that they were surprised. Because while my office is on the 7th floor of 931 Yonge Street in Rosedale of all places, my work is on the ground in more than 2,200 buildings and 350 communities across this great city. After 30 years in public housing business, I've learned that even though public housing consists of bricks and mortar, people are the heart of our business. In housing, you can't fix problems sitting in your office. Executives and managers have to get out from behind their desks. They have to engage with people who live in social housing. Whether in Detroit, Indianapolis, San Francisco, or Toronto, I have approached these challenges the same way. The first thing I do is I go out and I listen. I don't come in swinging and pretend to have all the answers. Rather, I seek out the answers. That is why I put on a blue Toronto Community Housing polo shirt, ball cap, and went out to visit the porches, park benches in our communities, always making an effort to meet people where they are. I don't go as an executive with an entourage. I always try to be approachable. And when they talk, I listen. You cannot transform an organization alone. So I'm always very clear with my staff that this is not about me. It's about creating a team and getting the best of all of our employees. That means all of us have to be working together toward a set of very clear and perfectly reasonable expectations. Yes, I see problems and listen to complaints. I have seen the bed bugs. I have seen the units with excessive clutter. One resident took me into her unit and showed me the mold in her bathroom. Then she told me what she had been going through to get it taken care of, including putting in her own time and money. I've seen a lot of clutter, I've seen a lot of bad stuff, but I've seen a lot of good stuff. Excuse me. But I also saw a neighborhood where kids were playing in the park. I love to see those young kids when I approach them. It's quite different from the United States. Kids in the United States are just educated not to talk to strangers. But not here in Toronto. When I walk on my properties and I see these young kids and I ask them their name, I ask them what grade they're in, you see the big grin on their face. That's what I do. If anything I do that means more to me is the kids and the seniors in our development, darn the families. And I saw the community where residents feel a genuine sense of pride. And I took some late night walks with our special constables from our community safety unit to understand the reality. Our communities are different places at night, ladies and gentlemen. I did all this to understand the day-to-day reality for all my staff. To that end, the management team had planned a series of staff sessions during my second week on the job. I'm sure there would have been some fine presentations, but that's not what I had in mind. I wasn't going to have it. So I politely asked the managers and executives to leave the room, and I closed the door. And then I let our employees talk. And again, I listened carefully. Let me tell you the overwhelming thing I've heard from both residents and my staff. No one had ever done this before. No one has ever done this before, sat down with the staff at all. Residents felt ignored, and staff. After the public beating the company had taken, they felt demoralized. People that asked for input before, there have been meetings, surveys, focus groups, you name it. But leadership and credibility, especially in tough times, come from getting face-to-face with people and listening to what they have to say. As a newcomer, that was what I had to do to start the rebuilding trust, start rebuilding that trust. Did I promise I could fix all their problems? No. Ladies and gentlemen, I do not make promises I cannot keep. And I know that I cannot, and Toronto Community Housing cannot, be all things to all people. But in my humble experience, if you tell me what you can do, and if you tell them that you cannot do it, and why, they usually understand. And in the best case scenario, they might even contribute towards a solution. Also, I wanted to get beyond the headlines, the council reports, to understand community housing. The criticism has been sharp and steady, so I knew what I was coming into. But I needed to hear from those who live and work in our communities. I wanted to learn firsthand how things worked or didn't work in the companies so we could serve our residents better. Also, I spoke with city councilors and city staff so we could serve our shareholder better. I met with every city councilor. To build communities, you need to build a sense of responsibility, and that comes from involving residents in the decisions that affect their lives. When residents are involved, they share responsibility for the decision too. There is widespread agreement that Toronto Community Housing has to change. Toronto Community Housing needs to repair and rebuild its properties, its credibility, and its sense of mission. But we do not stop there, ladies and gentlemen. We want to serve people better so that they will achieve more as a community and as individuals. Toronto Community Housing is home to 164,000 residents, or 6% of Toronto's population. If we were a city, we would be bar. See, I can't say the accent's taken away from me. That's how many people we house every day. We are the second largest public housing provider in North America. Only New York City is larger than us. I told my staff that turning around a ship of that size takes a team. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you what I told them. Coming together is the beginning. Keeping together is progress. Working together is success. Teamwork has become my call to my staff and my call to action. I want us to work as a team to deliver social housing in Toronto better than it has ever been before. So how will we do it? Well, let me tell you. We are taking action on many fronts to improve our service and get our house in order. While there is far too much going on for me to cover in a single speech, if you give me a couple more hours, I could share with you a few important things. There are 3 core levers for bringing about change needed for Toronto Community Housing. First, we need to become more open and accessible. We can only build trust if we are visible and if we open new lines of communication. We need to show residents that we are listening and that we are all in this together. That's the culture we need. For example, one of the first things I did was put our staff